Hey everybody, welcome to Monday, and this is by request, mainly, talking about Lola Bunny and company. I am tying it into video games because it's relevant to some of these franchises that were created in the 1990s as well. So this is tied into gaming, and it's Women's History Month, so this is appropriate. A little bit of a history lesson. Thanks to Space Jam 2. So if you like this sort of thing, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. Now, I admit I was hesitant to dive into this at first. One, because it's a kid's cartoon. Second, because it's not video games. Thirdly, because people like to play dirty with this stuff and go, why do you care about sexualizing a cartoon character and all this stuff? This is about history, and this is about reasoning. And this is about me noticing a trend among certain male creatives. Don't tense up, guys. Some, not all, certain male creatives of this. Why is it like that? Why is she doing that? It's kind of a weird warped male gaze thing of, to mine eyes, this looks funny. Like, why is she like that? It sounds like a bunch of guys going, oh my God, Becky, look at her butt. And that's why we go to the 1990s, okay? The 1990s was a very different time. But let's set up the scene. We have Lola Bunny. Let me get the image up here. We have Lola Bunny. 1996 on the right, 2021 on the left. This is actually Lola Bunny from Space Jam. Okay, 1996. You may have seen this image on the internet. This is fan art. This is not actually the way she appeared in the movie. So people who are like, they shrunk her chest. No, they actually didn't. If you look closely. They just changed her outfit. Now, I have no problem with an outfit change for the sake of an outfit change. I don't have a problem if Space Jam wants to make the character look more like a WNBA player. She's still got the attitude. You can tell. I mean, I think it's cool. She's got the compression sleeve on. That's a neat little detail. If they wanted her to look more like an actual WNBA player, I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is the reasons given by the director, Malcolm D. Lee. Again, male director chiming in on women's bodies. Now, we're going to get into the issue of hypersexualized versus hyperfeminized. Okay. And I know I've talked about this before, but that's one element. But I want to also get into historical context because I actually think that's very important and really gets left out of these discussions of, why is she dressed like that? Oh my God, Becky, look at her butt. Okay. So what Malcolm D. Lee says is Lola Bunny was Bunny, he didn't actually say, just Lola, bunnies in quotes, was very sexualized, like Betty Boop mixed with Jessica Rabbit. He said, Lola was not politically correct. This is a kid's movie. Why is she in a crop top? There it is. Why is she in a crop top? It just felt unnecessary. But at the same time, there's a long history of that in cartoons. Okay, we are talking about a movie where Michael Jordan is playing basketball with a bunch of cartoons. Why is this necessary? None of it is necessary. None of it is necessary. But there's the, why is she in a crop top? There's male gaze 2021 redux, a guy going, why is she dressed like that, to a depiction of a woman? It's still men judging women for what we do. Oh, but it's a cartoon. No, I will get to that. It's not just a cartoon. Be patient. Hear me out, okay? Lee added it was easier to reimagine Lola Bunny because she's a character that originated in Space Jam and not of the Looney Tunes vault. That he didn't say that. That's the article. Quote, "This is 2021. It's important to reflect the authenticity of strong, capable female characters." It is important to reflect the authenticity of strong, capable female characters. Let's break that down. What he's saying is that a woman who chooses to dress like Lola from 1996 is not strong, capable, and authentic. The only way a woman can exude strong, capable, and authentic is to dress like the modern Lola Bunny. The problem is Malcolm D. Lee's back catalog of images. Okay? Malcolm D. Lee, previous directorial credits include Undercover Brother. I guess these ladies are, well, Denise Richards' hair is certainly not authentic there, but I guess these women aren't strong and capable in his own movie, but this is the best one. Okay, this is the best one. Girls Trip. I guess they ain't strong, capable. I guess Queen Latifah isn't strong and capable because she's dressed in a low-cut shirt and the image. And this really has so little to do with the basic, like the overall concept. Like, look at the tagline. You'll be glad you came. Okay, you can't see that on this. Let me move this image so you can actually see the tagline here. Here it is. You'll be glad you came. Down here. Clearly not strong, capable women here. You tell that to Queen Auntie Equalizer Latifah. Okay? Jada Pinkett Smith doing some weird stuff with the red table, but Queen Latifah? There is no woman more synonymous with strong, authentic, and capable, and he put her in a sexualized image. Okay? That's the problem. It's not the change. It's not the change. This is fine. They updated the fashions. No worries, okay? No worries. There are reasons. There are justifiable reasons. The reason he gave is just a problem. Reflect this is 2021. It's important to reflect the authenticity of strong, capable female characters. Well, let's flash back to 1996 for the benefit of guys like Malcolm D. Lee, who decide that in 2021, it's perfectly fine to judge how strong, authentic, and capable a woman is by the way she's dressing. Now, is it prudent to take a cartoon character who plays basketball and put her in a Jessica Rabbit dress? No, it's not prudent in 2021. It's not practical, okay? People are going to get upset. It's not worth the fight. Fine. But we flash back to 1996, and we're in the middle of the AIDS epidemic. And at that time, it was prudent for women to harness and own their sexuality. There was a song by Salt and Pepper in 1991. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Like, right. It was the 90s. It was fashion was being impacted by the AIDS epidemic because there were a lot of gay fashion designers. And so fashion was starting to reflect that outing of sexuality. People didn't want to hide anymore. People wanted to be authentic about sexuality. And so hemlines started going up. The crop top started coming in full force. And certain things like ashless chaps or mesh shirts or cod pieces started becoming, George Michael, the whole look at my butt thing, baby, This was not an accident. This has not come out of nowhere. This was a fashion reaction to people having to come out of the closet, both with gay sexuality and with straight female sexuality because of AIDS. And black people were hit harder in some ways than white people for a great many reasons. So it started reflecting hip hop, but before it reflected anything else. Now, keep in mind that the star of Space Jam was Michael Jordan. He was not very good. I couldn't get through Space Jam. I was 18 in 1996. I was already beyond that. 18 was not a great year for me. I was very serious at that age, and end of high school, beginning of university for me. Then I was very serious back then. I was in women's studies, guys, but in English literature. But I'm going to show you a snapshot of fashions at the time. Okay. Back to Lola. Now, hypersexualized means more sexualized than the mainstream. It's a comparative term, right? The biggest girl band in the world in 1996 was the Spice Girls. As you can see, wearing less than Lola Bunny, but we're getting there. The Spice Girls, and there was a real debate about at the time whether it was okay for the 9-year-olds to dress like the Spice Girls. Jury's still out, but biggest girl band in the world. Huge phenomenon, right? Bare midriffs. Okay, but the important one here is Sporty Spice's iconic look in the Wannabe video. Now, nobody saw Sporty Spice as hypersexualized. The joke back then was she was sort of gay-coded back then. But, Lola Bunny doesn't look that out of place compared to Sporty Spice. Emphasis on Sporty Spice. Okay, they put her in shorts instead of track pants, but you wear shorts in basketball. But bare midriffs. Remember, the question is, why is she in a crop top? Malcolm D. Lee says, why is she in a crop top? Well, because the crop top was current fashion. We have Aaliyah, rest in power. We have Salt and Pepper. Salt and Pepper, let's talk about sex himself. Salt and Pepper. TLC. Now, okay, compared to TLC, is Lola Bunny really batting an eye? Okay? TLC, Lola Bunny. I want to stop showing that fan art. I'm going to close that window because that's confusing the issue. But TLC, Lola Bunny. TLC, Lola Bunny. Doesn't seem so out of place anymore, does it? Toni Braxton, we're getting tamer, but you still got the bare midriff. Celine Dion. You do not get more white bread than Celine Dion. More conservative. Still the peak of midriff. Christina. Now, this is from 1998. But Christina Aguilera was like 16, 17 years old here. Okay, and then, of course, there's the infamous Britney Spears costume where it was a whole whack of teenagers with bare midriffs. Bare midriffs were normalized back then. So, in that context, why is she wearing a crop top, Malcolm D. Lee? Because people wore crop tops back then. Because it was a reaction to the reality that we had to all become much more overt, much more aggressive, much more open with our sexuality, because the messaging at then was, no, girl, talk about sex. Because if you were just complacent, then he might not wear a condom and you could get AIDS. Or chlamydia, or syphilis, or gonorrhea, but it was AIDS that was the really scary one. Even though, like, chlamydia and gonorrhea rates were through the roof back then, too. But it was, get over it. Get loud. Get out there. Own it. You can't afford to be innocent and demure anymore. I mean, TLC had that whole song, Waterfalls, go chasing waterfalls. And there was that line, 3 letters took him to his final resting place. That's an HIV reference. It was the 90s, Malcolm D. Lee. It was a very different time. The bare midriffs were in a lot of ways the COVID masks of their day. It was a form of protection where women were coding very aggressive because, guys needed to know if you want to try this, you got to be prepared for what you're going to get. Which means if I say we do something, condom use, we do it, or we ain't doing it. He should know this. He was around back then. It's amazing to me how many, and here's the thing, straight men did not have to worry about this the same way gay men and straight women did. AIDS was primarily a problem for gay men and gay and bisexual men and straight and bisexual women, just because of the way it spreads. So yeah, Malcolm D. Lee, it was authentic. Lola Bunny's crop top was authentic at the time, because at the time, oh my God, we were having to teach 11-year-olds about condom use because you had to get to them before some dude did. It started so young back then, by necessity, so young. Did it rob some kids of their childhood? Maybe, but that was better than it robbing them of their lives. And this historical context is extremely important when we're judging female-coded characters of that time. And to rip the historical context out of that, to insist that Lola Bunny from 1996 is not associated with authenticity of strong, capable females, you're forgetting your history. It was scary that way. We had to become very strong, capable, and authentic back then. It wasn't fun, the reasons why. We had to do it, and there is nothing more strong, capable, and authentic than making a statement that you own your body and nobody is going to violate that. People have forgotten that in the 1990s, it wasn't, there was none of this nonverbal cues. It's better to let him hit you than to let him rape you, because he'll get charged. There's proof he hit you. Whereas if you just let him do it, then there's consent issues and you won't be believed in all that stuff. That's how hardcore the 1990s were. Okay? Thank God now is better. We might have swung a little bit too far the other way, but I'll take this age in that regard. When you think about what we had to deal with, right? What teenagers had to deal with navigating early sexuality, it was some hardcore stuff. And depictions of female characters reflected that. And this is where I come to video games. Because there was another major franchise that got its start in 1996. And now it's super criticized. It's retroactively reanalyzed in the rear view. And that franchise is the Tomb Raider franchise. And as you see, based on the stuff I showed you of what was going on in like music and fashion and all that at the time, Lara Croft's kind of tame, right? Everybody goes, whoa, she's so sexualized, but TLC, Lara Croft. TLC, Lara Croft, right? Like, what Lara's wearing was not super whoa for the fashions of the time. Spice Girls, Lara Croft. You need this context, right? Because when these guys start pulling that, why is she wearing that? Why are we doing this? Why? White straight man? Because you have no fucking idea what women had to go through at the time, and gay men had to go through at the time. And I bring out like white straight men for this because this really is a particular blind spot affecting them, just because they weren't, unless they had a friend who died of AIDS, they really weren't affected by this, right? They didn't have to worry because, you know, I won't get into the details of how AIDS is spread, but it's just a mechanical thing about who's most at risk. The transmission rates of straight dudes getting it from their female partners and women getting AIDS through HIV through heterosexual sex weren't even comparable for various reasons. Just various mechanical reasons. So why is she dressed that way? Aren't you blessed? You had it relatively easy during that time. Stop judging characters that show aggressiveness and authentic ownership of what women were having to deal with at that time. AIDS cut the bullshit like nothing we'd ever seen before and nothing we'd ever seen since. And that's why bands aimed at children and young adults were dressed like this. 'Cause if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends. I mean, that's a fairly innocent message, right? But it's still like, we are not docile women anymore. We are colorful and we have plumage because we are dangerous. That's how nature indicates. Stay away from this. Danger. You know, bright plumage. And the Spice Girls, I mean, again, people had some issues, but there are reasons for this. The 1990s did not come out of nowhere. They were a reaction. And so all those characters like Lara Croft and like I would argue Bayonetta as well sort of comes out more of those the Japanese. I mean, you look at Bayonetta right now and I mean, she's pretty covered up except for her back and like maybe a cutout here. The issue with, you know, you go back and you look at the climax moves in Bayonetta, and frankly, Bayonetta's climax moves are less is shown than TLC's outfit right here, okay? Like, Bayonetta is a really interesting exercise in, to me, an examination of virtue. Like, okay, if your hair gives you superpowers and so you temporarily look like Sexy Technique from Naruto, again, it's a Japanese thing. The Japanese think Sexy Technique from Naruto is acceptable for 8 to 10-year-old boys. It's different morals. It's different morals. And again, you know, the Japanese have problems in their society, and willful, dominant, aggressive characters like Bayonetta do a lot to subvert that. Now, the fact that they decide to make them white women, again, these are reflections of the time. This sort of culture doesn't create this media. This sort of media doesn't create culture. This sort of media reflects what's going on in culture, and to weaponize in imagery a woman's high-heeled shoe, I think says a lot about Bayonetta as a character. There are very few images that are more female coded than a high-heeled shoe. And for Bayonetta, who had a female artist design her, yes, she had some instructions from the male creative director of the game, but a lot of it's Mari Shimazaki. But, you know, to make a high-heeled shoe into a weapon, into a projectile weapon, that says something, you know, and then with that very feminine strap, you know. This is similar to what was going on with the fashions in the 1990s in response to AIDS that eventually trickled down into Lola Bunny. We're not dealing with the same thing anymore. We're dealing with other social issues. We're dealing with the ongoing collective trauma that is sort of Me Too. So it makes sense that the representative fashions would change. I mean, her clothes have clothes, right? It's not right or wrong. It's almost a changing reflection of the neuroses of the time, of the concerns of the time, of what women have to do to protect ourselves. So when you think about that, it's kind of sad. But when you think about that, you also realize that Lola Bunny 1996 and Lola Bunny 2021, it's a lateral move. It's basically doing the same thing. It's not making Lola more authentic, strong, and capable. It just shows that what symbolizes in the minds of, well, Malcolm D. Lee at least, and others, but what symbolizes authentic, strong, and capable in women has changed. And what we have to grapple with is, why is there only at any given time one acceptable depiction of an authentic, strong, capable woman? Shouldn't authenticity look more diverse than one acceptable type of wardrobe at any given time? Because what that means is all women have to be authentic in the exact same way. You guys are smart. You know this makes no sense. And like I said, it ties into video games because, you know, we wanted to make the female costumes more respectful. Well, that was respect in the 1990s, guys. Do you not even remember where your own game came out of? I mean, exact same time frame. Women with the size and the fans and no, you know, that was where we were at. That was where we were at. We were being taught to carry keys between our fingers walking to cars at night. Melina was just an extrapolation of that. So what? She's in a freaking bodysuit. You saw what the general fashions were at the time. Why is there no... I mean, Ed Boon is still at NetherRealm. But there are no women in positions who lived through that because the women who work at game companies right now are too damn young. There's nobody going, do you all remember what it was like? Me, I'm the only one. I'm like gaming OG, you know, Granny Weatherwax, man. I'm the old crone on the hill going, no, you get right. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we have so little institutional memory in this industry about women's experience, that what created those aggressive images, the hyper feminine aggressive images of the 1990s, where those friggin' came from. And I'm frustrated. Mass Effect's slightly different because Mass Effect didn't come out until 2010. But still, it's that same male. Why is she like that? Why are we doing that? Why? And the reason I'm doing the, oh my God, Becky, look at her butt, is because, you know, Sir Mix-a-Lot was talking about how white women talk to other white women about a black girl's ass, right? And Sir Mix-a-Lot made a big deal. He's like, no, ladies, we like that. Becky there may not like it, but I like big butts and I cannot lie. That was a revelation back then. It's the same thing when a guy is asking another guy, why is she dressed like that? You know, why not look at the fashions of the time and go, oh, okay, yeah, fashion trends have changed. Like, that's how people dressed back in the 1990s. That's not how people dress now. It reads as a totally different thing. We've just updated it to reflect that. That right there is an answer that would respect the authenticity, strength, and capabilities of women. Because like this, there's a bunch of us older ladies who lived through the 90s AIDS crisis who are just sick of all this shit. Okay, if you like this content, Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LanaK. Thanks for watching.